Guys, thanks for coming. I know you're both very, very busy. So Jared, just want to introduce yourself, talk about what you do, and maybe how you got into the space that you're in.
Yeah, sure. Thank you first for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm impressed with your presentation. It's very touching, very well done.
Thank you.
I'm a football match agent, FIFA match agent. I've been working with Nigeria since 2008. That was an opportunity that came out of our first stadium in Colombia that needed to be inaugurated, and it's in Cali, which is where we have one of the biggest African communities. So the organizers requested us to bring an African team, and by luck, I have to say, I was in a wedding. I met someone who introduced me to the Nigerian Football Federation and got the mandate, and that's how we brought Nigeria in 2008 to play Colombia. When I brought Nigeria to Colombia is when I saw I had previously worked for 6 years in different areas of the match organization here in London with Kentaro, doing all the promotional games for Brazil and Argentina at the time, which they had. So I was always promoting their games to the Brazilian community and Colombia whenever they brought it to London. And so I had a bit of experience. And then when I brought Nigeria to Colombia, I saw there were many gaps that I could fill for them, because I experienced from A to Z when I got my mandate till we delivered the match. And I saw that there was lack of organization in many areas and many other opportunities. So I started promoting and delivering games for them up to 2011, when I did for Guinness, which was the main sponsor in Nigeria. We did Guinness the Match with an agency from London that was trying to bring a big team to Nigeria. They went to different agents from Africa. I think there was a lawyer here who claimed to be the agent of Kanu. We took some money and never delivered anything. The same company, funnily enough, in 2008 as well, we did Nigeria, Ireland with Kentaro in London. I helped them to deliver the photo shooting, which was not part of my job. And the same agency, they came 3 years later and they said, "Oh, we're doing this." And I said, "Okay, I could help you." They said, "No, we have this huge agent. He's got offices in Oxford Street. You don't worry about it." And 3 months later, they call me and they say, "Okay, can you come? This guy took the money, he disappeared, and now we are looking for someone." I said, "What do you need?" They said, "We need a big team." I said, "Okay, I can give you Argentina, but no Messi." That's when they did. They said, "It's perfect, it's Argentina, and the budget has to be, it's not as expensive as it has to be with Messi," so it was perfect. We brought Argentina in 2011, and that's when I got my exclusivity. Then since then, I've been doing all the international friendly games for the Nigerian Football Federation. That's
Brilliant.
where I'm standing today. Yeah.
Brilliant. Likewise for you, Themba, you just want to talk about what you do, your agency, how you got to the space.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. As Sean has briefly kind of introduced me, I'm a former student here. I did the same course as Gabriel. Just brief background about myself. I'm from South Africa, and when I started, what compelled me to do the course was the realization of the impact that sports could have economically and socially in society.
Yeah.
So I came here to explore how sports could be a tool for socio-economic development. And I think from Sean's curriculum, I got a lot more than I thought I could in terms of the governance and the economy of sports. I was lucky enough after graduating from here, I worked for a sports agency that was focusing on distribution of rights into the African sports market. So I was fortunate enough that we got to be distributing rights like the English Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, and some African international matches, friendly matches. So it was kind of a great stepping stone for myself in terms of understanding the market, understanding the broadcasting market in Africa, understanding the sponsorship market in Africa, and understanding basically how the sports market in Africa, or the media market, is very much interlinked and dependent on the general economic market in Africa. So that was a good stepping stone for me. Then when I left to establish my own kind of agency, started off with doing some research, because I found that, just like Gabriel has pointed out, that there wasn't a lot of information about this market. I mean, we know it exists, but there isn't any publication, nothing documented academically or business-wise. So for me, it was an opportunity then to say, okay, what is the African sports market? What is the African sports TV market, to be precise? So then I then partnered with a media intelligence agency called Balancing Act, and we then worked on a report and published it in 2015, I think. And it went well than we expected. We got great reviews. It was just an introduction, right, in terms of what our broadcasters feeling like, and we mainly polled the broadcasters in terms of the content and the rights that they buy, and also if they're also investing in African sports and African sports content. So from then on, well, I still continued with buying rights, selling rights, being an agent. So it's been 5 years of doing that, and it's 5 years of, I think for me, as Sean said, that when I first came here to do the presentation, my report was very much optimistic, right? The results and the analysis that I got from the report was that this market is set for growth. My optimism has not stopped. Yes, just like all markets, there are challenges and there are pitfalls, but it is a growing market. There are many opportunities. It depends on the approach and strategy that you employ. So I'm here today to kind of share my experience. It is my experience, my opinions, but I hope it will impact on you in terms of giving you some understanding of what is going on in this market from Themba Ndlwana's perspective.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for the introduction, guys. By the way, for guys down at the back, if you want to come in and fill the seats, then feel free. Okay, so before we delve any deeper into the questions, I just want to throw this out to the audience, just to get a show of hands. So can I just see with the hands in here who works in the sports industry in any capacity? Just a show of hands. Okay, fantastic. And then can I also get a show of hands who's explored the opportunities that exist in the African market? All right, no, that's decent, better than I thought. So yes, that's good. Well, posing the question to you guys to begin with, what are the, obviously from your own experience, what are the common misconceptions people have about the African sports market? And following on from that, what can be done to combat these misconceptions? Jarrell, you want to kick off from your own experience?
My own experience,
yeah.
I think that in the European market, South America don't interact much with Africa,
Yeah.
but the European agents, they don't trust the African market because the experiences that they had. The opportunity that I had to come into Nigeria was thanks to a Nigerian agent who took the money and disappeared. So then I was given the opportunity. Then, of course, that's basic, but I think that once you are inside the market, there's great potential, there's huge like professionals and people that can deliver. But if you're talking about from Europe to Africa, I think that's a big barrier, that is the commitment and to deliver what you commit, basically. And that's a big, maybe that's stopping the development of African sports, because not everyone is the same, but people say, okay, no, let's go to America. Let's do, like in our market, if you see all the international friendly games you have in Africa, you have money, you have sponsors, you have fans, but there is nothing happening there. Everything happens in America, if it doesn't happen in Asia. So I think that that's one big barrier that has to be broken in order to give that big development that Africa requires, and it is in hunger for it. And there is everything in there. You know, you have facilities in Nigeria. You have huge stadiums. You have better stadiums than we have in Colombia, for example. You have it's a huge country. You know, you have the big sponsors that you can see that they are now attached to the federation. I don't know how is the basketball world or industry, but if I talk from the football side, I think there is huge potential because you have the great, you know, how you say, talent.
Yeah, of course.
So it's big, and I think it's a lot to be done still in Africa, and from my experience in Nigeria.
Themba, posing to you, what are your thoughts on that?
Misconceptions.
Yeah.
First of all, Africa is one country. So I think, yes, Africa is not a homogeneous market. Right? It's very, very diverse. I mean, when we're talking about Africa now, when you say, what are the opportunities in Africa? I don't think that is a good question, you know. I know for the interest of this panel, we're talking about Africa, because what can be good in South Africa cannot work in Nigeria. What can be good in Kenya can work in South Africa, and vice versa. So I think if you look at it from an international perspective, the biggest misconception that people make is the generalization, right? You have Super Sports, the biggest pay TV sports platform in Africa. They really they go on down and they buy. When they buy big, like the English Premier League, right? And similar rights holders, maybe Bundesliga or Serie A and other rights holders, because of that, they have this perception that, yeah, there's money in Africa. If this guy could afford to buy for $500 million USD the English Premier League rights, then yes, my property is worth the same, or at least I'll get into the same region. So I think the lack of knowledge about this market creates those misconceptions. Now, you talked about the NBA. The NBA has been in Africa for I think almost a decade, right? Or even more than a decade, right? And they were not just there to actually enjoy the market. They were there to research the market, right? The Basketball Africa League didn't come overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
It is true investment in the market, understanding the market. I mean, they've been hosting the African game, the one African game a season, right? Because they were really researching the market. So I think if you look at NBA's approach, where they've actually said, okay, let's set up shop in Africa. Let us understand this market. Let us then kind of create a network in this market, and then look at the opportunities. And this opportunity, I mean, what they've created right now, it's based on knowledge. It's not based on opinion. It's based on data that they've gathered, and I'm sure they've tried many things. And this is something that's okay. Here we can take the risk because we have invested in creating that knowledge. So the misconceptions for me come from not understanding the market. And if there's proper understanding of the market, and it's about then either partnering with entities that understand this market, that have been invested, that they've been operating in that market, or then going out there and setting up shop and really studying that market.
So from what you two have, by the way, guys, we're going to have a chance for questions to be posed at the end. I forgot to mention that. Our hashtag is ASU Intro. So if you've got any questions, just write them down and save them for the end. But in the meantime, this is a round of applause for Drew, our panel speaker. Welcome. Sharp as ever.
Thank you.
Hello guys, sorry to be late. There's a problem in Houston Station. And so we'll get into the train.
No worries. We were just discussing misconceptions that are maybe attributed to the African sports market. I mean, Jara and Themba spoke about different areas. Well, actually, I think at first you just want to introduce yourself, what you do, and how you get to this space, just so people can just understand what you do.
My name is Drew Uyi. I'm based in London. I'm a football agent.
You're many things. You're not just a football agent. You are many things.
I'm many
Just a
things.
football agent, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I see myself as a PR strategist, you know, and a brand strategist as well. I've done a lot in the past, you know. I think I started with sports anyway, like 20 years ago. I left it and went into entertainment, but basically, sports is entertainment, and I think sports is the real business. So I'm back into sports now for the past 1 year, and it's been very exciting. And I believe more in practical. You know, speaking of it, if I was going to say anything, I'm going to say from our own experience.
Which is what we want.
Yeah, from our own experience, like you know. I don't know if you want to ask me any question about.
So no, the first question that I posed was just a generic one about the misconceptions that some people may have about the African sports market, and of those misconceptions, what possibly can be done to tackle those, to change those?
If you ask me, I'll say sports started from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what people.
It's a bold statement, right, guys?
I don't know what people are talking about, or, you know, I mean, sports. When you talk about sports is Africa, and the main stakeholders are from Africa anyway. They're Black Africans, so you know. So I don't know, but the truth of the matter is, I would say there's not a lot of commercial stuff, you know, happening in Africa. Yeah, I think the country that's in the forefront for sports is the United States and the UK, and the UK is number one because of football. Football is just above the NBA, so soccer is the main thing. So I mean, Africa in general, they have to learn from the UK. They have to learn from the UK if they don't want to do well. I think at the moment they're not doing well at all.
So I want to touch on, because you mentioned many ways in which this misconception can be combated through, you know, understanding and whatnot. But I speak to a few people and they mention some of them are a bit touchy when it comes to, especially the NBA, for example. People are like, oh, but why can't it come from like an African nation or African entity doing this? Do you guys think this, in order to challenge these misconceptions, do you think it would take an NBA who maybe have a bigger audience, or things are done, you know, have a bigger reach to maybe change these misconceptions about, okay, like Africa is not, you know, what some people may think it is? Or do you think it can start within Africa and come forth that way? Themba?
I don't understand those kind of sentiments. Africa is open for business for any other sectors, right?
Yeah.
So if Microsoft goes into Nigeria and set up a data center there, is there an uproar? Right? There's no uproar. It's investment.
Yeah.
The NBA saw an opportunity and they went for it. Should it have been done by Africans? Probably not. Because opportunity is opportunity. NBA is a business. They go in there and they sell an opportunity, and who has to stop them? Nobody can say it's right or wrong. I think we should not, as Africans, have, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, but we're not entitled to anything. You're only entitled to what you are doing. That's it. So if we as Africans are sitting with an opportunity, but some people can see it and they go for it, why not? I think what the NBA is doing, in my opinion, we as Africans should say, hey, this is a great PR for African sports, right? Because it is saying, here is a major brand, a major African sports brand, seeing an opportunity in Africa, right? And then I'm sure other sports brands out there were looking at that and say, hey, what did the NBA see in Africa? We as Africans who are involved in the industry, they say, hey, come on, let us show you what the NBA saw in Africa, right? Because I think all of us here as African sports practitioners want at heart, yes, we're in business, we want to make money, but at heart we want to develop that industry, right? We want to develop the market. And the more expertise and knowledge and know-how that comes into Africa from this mature and developed market, all the better for Africa, right? I think what the NBA is going to do, and the residual benefit that Africa would get from that is major. I mean, from the players to the infrastructure to the whole ecosystem, it's big. In my opinion, this is a big thing for Africa. And we as Africans should look at it like that and then see what opportunities are there. Like myself, I have been in touch with the NBA office in Johannesburg. Say, hey, I'm around. so I mean, listen, it's an opportunity. You've got to. It depends on your mindset, right? If you look at it from a perspective of saying, hey, this is we are entitled to this, it should be done by us. Okay, fine, but you're not. I felt that it's an opportunity. I went to the NBA. We're looking at what opportunities are there for us. So that's my perspective.
I would like to add to that. I think we Africans, we really have to do it ourselves. We don't need to wait to the NBA, because the NBA, they're going to come and take and go. They come to the UK, they do their events, they make their money. A lot of tourists, because people want to come to the UK, so they bring, like, for instance, when they're doing I have an experience from when they're doing the NFL in the, in Wembley. Most of the people that came out from the States, you see, they come in there, obviously they invest a bit, they're taking as well, they're taking something from where they go, from where they're going to, they're taking something. So they're just, what they're doing, they're making their business bigger, they're making it global. People are going to get more followings, because everything is online now. They're going to come and they're going to take the people. But what I believe, because my background is entertainment, I've done entertainment to the, like, when I say entertainment, I mean Afrobeats. I've worked with everybody in the Afrobeat. I'm in charge of the biggest Afrobeat concert out of Africa. It's called One Africa Fest. So I've seen it all. If we don't do it ourselves, nobody can do it for us. So we broke the barrier 3 years ago. We did an event in New York City in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. We did an event there, 20,000 capacity. It was sold out. After we've done that ourselves, that is when people like Life Nation start coming in. They want to do stuff with us, So what I think is that is a trend. We don't have to rush it. Now a lot of people in Africa, they support they support Arsenal, Real Madrid. Real Madrid is all over Africa. It's in every country in Africa. But what I believe is that in the nearest future, because now the music have break the barriers. They've gone now, like they're embracing our music now, and we have our own. Now we listen to our own music. Now our African artists are paid higher than the American artists in Africa, which is good for the stakeholders. So after the music, it's going to fashion. Like what I'm wearing now, it's not Gucci, it's not Versace. The young man over there is SJ, is the designer. He called me up like a year ago, like I want to design a suit for you. I said, go ahead. So I'd rather wear the trend that's changing. Instead of you wearing fashion designers you don't even know about, you want to wear the African. They can design as good as the Italians or whatever the case would be. So after music is fashion. After fashion, I think the next one will be sports. So we just have to be patient. We have to create our own buzz. We need to. That's where I'm coming from. That's the gap I saw.
Yeah.
Because going to sport, when you talk about the African players, they're not doing anything at all concerning their PR, concerning their media, concerning their branding. It's just they like touchy. When you bring an offer for them, they're not sure. They're very skeptic about. Unfortunately, a lot of them are from a humble background, and they don't even know that you can make a generational wealth from being a footballer. A generation where you can empower your whole community. Because first and foremost, when you're there, a lot of fans, like for Arsenal, the Arsenal Football Club, most of the ticket holders, the ticket holders, they have their own business. The business owners, the top people. So you have to use that leverage. You have to, after the football match, you have to make relationship. Like I was so saddened. I was so saddened when I saw ex-players from the country I'm from Nigeria. I see ex-players, they're broke. How can you be broke when you played for 5 top European clubs? There's a particular footballer, played for AC Milan, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, played for 5 top clubs, and you're back now, Africa, and you're broke. So what relationship did you, what happened during that time? Who were you talking to? You're just going to play football and go back to your house? And what kind of deal did you sign? Life after football. So, but not to like deviate too much. The main stakeholders, which are the footballers, the African footballers, they really have to do a lot. Okay. They need to know what they're doing. They need to know that football is business. It's not just about what you do on the pitch. Don't take anything for granted. They take so much for granted.
Interesting. So we've got Themba, collaboration, and Drew, homegrown. Jara, obviously from a Colombian perspective, what
I agree with Drew. I think that the bridge between to break that barrier has to be, as you said, the stakeholders and those who come and experience Europe and the US in the sports market of this. They have to come back and give back, and they are the ones who have to put the first stone for the others to come. They have to be the partners of those Europeans, of those American markets who will come and believe in them, because they have that advantage. Let's call it that. But as you say, in football, that's not just in Africa. That's everywhere in the world. You see UK players as well betting. That's due to, I think, it's excess of money and cash, and they don't know what they have, and from one day to another they don't have it because they didn't have the right education. So that's football in general. I wouldn't say that it's just Africa.
So, and as I said, with the music thing, it's not a trend. It's something that the Nigerian descent, like people from people born abroad, they embracing the music because that's the only way they can relate. So when people like Whiskey, like Julie Adingra, she's quite big because she's a sister to Skepta, so with that she's big in her own right. So when people like that come, people obviously, I had no doubt. I was even thinking they could have sold, I think they sold like 3 million, they could have sold like 10 million easily. What happened is the day they launched that jersey, I was sleeping in my house, my phone rang, I picked up my phone, my sister was crying on the phone. Oh, Drew, you're into sports, you can't get a jersey for your nephew. I'm like, what? I don't even have the jersey myself. So everybody's after it. Like the second, third generation of Nigerians living in the UK, everybody wanted a piece of it. So when you talk about music, the music and sports, they go hand in hand. Like for instance, Davido just did his concert at the O2 Arena.
And Whiskey not long ago.
The O2 Arena. There was over 30 footballers there from the Premiership, like from Nigeria descent and African descent. Like even the people that play for England, like Tammy Abraham. Tammy Abraham came with his family, came with his boys. And they really enjoyed themselves because Davido is one of the biggest African artists. So he sold the place like easily. So going back to what we're saying is music, entertainment, as I said, sport is entertainment. So matching those two together using the influencers, and that is where the problem. That's where I'm still going back to what I was saying. The Nigerian artists, they brand themselves. The artists, the stars, the superstars. But the footballers, what are they doing in return? They're not really investing in it, because they said the best investment you can invest in yourself is invest in your brand.
Yeah.
So they are not investing in their brand at all. A few of them, they've invested like accidentally, like there's a particular footballer, he had injuries. So when he was nursing his injury, he was online, he was doing a lot online, so he got a lot of fans. A lot of them, I see people have Instagram page, they'll block the comments. Why do you block the comments? You don't want to interact. If you don't interact, you're losing your fans. Even if they're going to say something bad, try and get a feedback. A lot of them, they can't be bothered. And in sport now, sport is really changing. Social media is not an option. They definitely do need to have that. And because they don't really and truly, they don't need the artists to push them. The footballer should be able to push it. Yeah, someone like one of the biggest Nigerian footballers, I'm just talking about Nigeria, that's also Nigeria, was Victor Moses. Victor Moses did not join Instagram up to like a year and plus ago, and now he's on maybe about 800, and the highest Nigerians it will be. Like, if you say Iwobi is not really a Nigerian player from Africa, like okay, yes,
he's like me.
He's like born here. So how can you, if Salas can have like 8 million followers, so why are the Nigerian players not, because they don't pay attention to their socials, they don't pay attention to their media, they don't pay attention to their PR. It's like, I have no people here that want to get an interview with, you're doing that, it's not like you're doing a favor, it's a win-win situation. But before you can get this footballer to sit down, it's like they don't see the essence of them doing it, and that's why you suffer after football, because your brand, your market value might go up and go down, but your brand value, if you maintain it, will keep for life. Brand is another word for reputation. It's not rocket science. Keep your reputation going. Keep it cool. And some people think that they have to score goals before they can build a brand. I've seen footballers, they hit me up, they say, how can I be a brand? You're already a brand, you just need to develop it. And I believe that my own school of thought, why I came into the football industry and why I'm focusing on branding and branding really, is because I believe that every footballer should have an endorsement. Before the World Cup, Nigeria was hot. Imagine they were so hot. There was only a few people that have endorsement. Like I'm happy to be like part of the guy that did. I did the Pepsi deal with Igalo, Ahmed Musa, and Shehu. But I did it easily. How did I do it? Igalo, Igalo, like I know him and all that. He's a friend. He's like, oh, he wants to see me, he sees me. But how did I break the ice? He invited me for dinner. I was with him. That's how powerful social media is. When the dinner, I post the picture up, the agent for Pepsi, they saw the picture and they hit me up because the footballers they're not accessible. So they need to hang out with people that are accessible. He hit me up like, we need that guy. I said, okay, I told him and we struck the deal. So apart from that, which Nigerian footballer had a deal before the World Cup?
I don't know.
If anyone could answer that, I know. Yeah, there's a research deal where it's my head bed.
The thing is that I don't think footballers will never sit or take time to go and interact with social media. It's not for them to do it. They have to focus on the switch. They need to have someone that does that for them. They need to authorize, and that's what I said before. It's like financial advice to people they don't trust. It's about trust, because Fabregas, I think, is got his own company. They do that. They do all social media. They do great videos for players. They do all that advertisement that you're talking about. Like there is a Colombian guy actually. He used to work at the Diamond Club in Arsenal, and he met all the players. He met 3 players. Now he knows all the Latin American players who are playing in the Premier League in Spain, because one introducing Cuadrado, play here. Now, I was speaking to him the other day. He's doing advertisement and small propaganda like, yeah, but for Colombian companies back in Colombia, for them will cost a fortune to send someone here to sit with the player. As you said, they are not accessible. So they find these friends, and they are the ones who eventually, you see, I think like the big social media houses, they don't have to look for the player. They will never sit with you. They will never talk. You have to go for the friend of the player, the one who, you know, Owe Mikel, he goes around with 3 or 4 or 5 friends, right? Those are the ones that you have to target, not the player. The player will never have time and will never trust you. But if you break into the friend, he's the one who's going to allow and bring something good for the player, for you, and for everyone, you know, and for the brands, of course.
Yes. I don't really expect the players to do their social media. That's why you need to have a social, have someone dealing with their socials and the media. Because I've seen players, they're on the pitch, people are updating for them, they're in training. Yeah, that's the way it should be. I don't expect you to waste your time on that. But you have to do it. If you're not doing it, someone has to do it for you.
Yeah. Themba, just because of what we are speaking about in terms of you know, branding, social media, importance of that, digitalization, like the whole digital disruption, what big impact is that happening in the media space, especially in the content too?
Well, tremendous. Africa is, for the past decade or so, or even more, has been going through what you call digital migration. So basically switching off the analog signal for digital signal. So it's having a tremendous impact to those countries that have actually fully digitized. It's quite a lot that haven't. But to those countries that have, I mean, there's an explosion. There's platforms coming up, channels coming up. There's a lot of interest and a lot of appetite for sports content or content for all genres. So I think on that front, in terms of setting up those consumption platforms, it's big, right? But if you look at other kind of digital platforms like mobile, like social media, there's potential, right? Let me explain why I say that. In South Africa, I think it's about 90% penetration of smartphones and also 90% of 3G network. So if you look at those stats alone, there's a huge digital economy here. But given those stats and the actualities, it's still a lot, partly because of the data costs, right? In Africa, especially for consuming video content, it's still a major headache in terms of the mass market. The majority of the people cannot afford the huge data costs. So then, obviously, the kind of streaming services and the consumption is going to be hampered. So the potential is there, but obviously the whole ecosystem is going to change, especially the networks. I think the mobile networks still needs a lot to, I mean, they are the ones holding the key, right? I think MTN did a kind of a trial in Ghana where they gave their subscribers to their platform free data. But I don't know how well did that go. But yeah, I think it is the future, but there's still a lot of other factors in the market that need to change so that we see the real potential of the market.
Interesting. All right. For the sake of time, I can actually ask questions forever. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna open up to the floor. I saw your hand for a right. Yeah, stand up, introduce yourself, and then go your way.
Alright. My name is Bob Olukoya, and I'm an alumni. We have to thank Sean.
Of course.
Everything I know in sports.
You knew a lot before you came here, bro.
I was a lawyer before I came here, but thanks to them, I'm now doing my PhD at Loughborough, sports management. focus, don't laugh. Research area is corruption in sport in Nigeria. So you know what that means, a lot of data. Anyway, yeah. Gabriel, well done. Thank you very much. This is great. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to sit down with you to have
We'll make it happen.
podcast session, but I'm sure we will do. Going to the panel, thank you for coming. Thank you, Drew. Thank you. And Jaru, I've met you before. We met in Austria when Nigeria played the friendly. Okay? We met at friendly as well when Nigeria played England.
For me, it's always a problem to remember all the
I know.
places from my years.
I will remind you now. You said your very first point was a lack of trust.
Yeah.
I think that played out between our relationship. When we met in Austria, I came to you because I also represent one of the biggest clubs in Nigeria, 3SC, Shooting Stars. I know people know them, yeah, Shooting Stars. You know, the biggest, the most supported club in Nigeria. And they told me that, Bob, can you get us, you know that screen you have around the stadium?
Yeah.
You know, for adverts. And I told you in Austria, that, can we have this? Give me your card. So I sent you an email, you didn't reply. I sent you a text, you didn't reply. Of course, you don't know who I am. You don't know what you did.
I didn't get your email. Maybe it went to the trash because
Yeah.
you were with your son, right?
Yes, I was, yes. Yes,
You should have
remember.
called me because I gave you my phone number.
Okay.
And
So,
when you send emails, you know, when I send emails, many times, I never get replies.
Okay.
So if I'm really interested, then I call.
Then you call,
If
okay.
they don't pick up, then it's different things.
Okay.
And I'm sure, you know, I get many emails and depend where, you know, they don't go.
I know,
Go
but
to
trust
the
is a
filter.
big issue. I just tried to corroborate what you said at the initial stage. Trust is very big. However, why I want to talk now is that, Gabriel, the first thing on your slide, when you started, that is the problem of Africa as far as I'm concerned. Drew, you missed it.
Which one was that? You need
Education.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, education. If I hadn't come here and in Loughborough now and I want to be in sport, I would not know what to do. I will be lost. And a lot of people are lost in Africa. They just got there by virtue of circumstance or just happen on them and they want to run it. No, it's business now. You need to be equipped. So I think introduction to the African sports market, yeah, education has to be a big part of it. So you practitioners, carry us along. Let's educate Africans. And it doesn't mean go to university and do what we did. No, it could be just little seminars, symposium for the decision makers. I'll sit down for now. Thank you.
Sharif, I'll come to you in a minute. I know you got loads of questions. Bro, do you want to introduce yourself and ask a question, please?
Yeah, my name is Mark Lewis. I run a rights management company, Birkbeck. I've been buying and selling content in Africa since around about 2004. I've worked at the same agency as Themba and Sean, and I'm passionate about African sport. I wanted to say a couple of things to balance where Africa is at the moment and the transition that sport business is going through. But just to give you a perspective where I'm coming from, I've held output deals with SABC, delivering 200 to 250 hours a year, East Starsat, ETV, Quasi Canal, Azam, Soweto TV, SABC and Showmax. I provided the strategy for a startup company in 2013 to acquire the director of the fibre home in Abuja, $80 million, two Nigerian guys who set up to acquire Premiership and Premiership club rights. There is a huge amount of investment going on in sport in Africa. It's not always visible here, and it's not always seen in the way that we accept things. I'm going to touch on 4 or 5 points very quickly. The first thing is education. I came from a company called Zodiac Entertainment before I moved to do deals in South Africa. We came from Italy and they built a $1 billion distribution company. So I was very, very confident with inter-territory licensing. It's all well and good seeing there's a great basketball player, he can slam dunk extremely well, he hits a great three-pointer. But when it comes to licensing content in different territories, speaking Swahili, speaking Hutsu, speaking different tribal languages across the continent, going to 300 million different homes with different cultural relationships, that's a whole different ballgame. Between Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda has nearly 200 million homes, as opposed to the 176 million homes that we're talking about in Nigeria. There are different and very disparate markets in Africa at the moment. And in order to look at the continent, we have to look at the East African culture, the Central African culture, the South African culture, and the West African culture. Companies like Azam Media, who in 2013 outbid SuperSport for the first time, an African company who was selling concrete and selling rice, outbid SuperSport for La Liga by nearly $60 million and invested in local teams, the Zimbabwe Premier League, the Ugandan Premier League, the Kenyan Premier League, and aggregated those leagues for the first time. That had never been done in Africa before. You've got a £900 gorilla with $82 billion worth of capital who is controlling the whole market. And Kwesi have come on board maybe the last 2 to 3 years and have maybe taken 5 to 7% of the market, but needed nearly $1 billion to do it. So it's not a question of just enthusiasm, it's a question sometimes of strategy, going to the market, education, relationships, and pure gusto, and actually loving the game. We're building a mobile sports platform for Africa right now. It's for the dollar economy. The dollar economy is people only live on $1 a day, so they only have 1 or 2 cents per day to spend on each entertainment and visible entertainment. So that's very different from the MTN subscriber who may be paying $150 a month in Lekki to have a nice, kind of entertainment system. So the entertainment happens on 2 levels. Happens on those people who are making $20,000, $25,000 a year, and those who are only earning $3,000 a year, who we try to still have access to entertainment and sport. I think that there's a challenge in Africa in terms of legacy deals. What happened was there was a guy who did extremely well in selling vegetables, saved himself $4 or $5 million, and then decided to go and buy some sports rights. He would then go and buy some sports rights because of the euphoria of owning a title like the Champions League or the Bundesliga, etc., and then was unable to exploit those rights, and therefore would pay the first deposit to the rights holders and not be able to afford to pay the second or third deposit because he didn't have the infrastructure in order to exploit those rights through marketing, through partnership, through strategic marketing, all the things you have to do when you're not on the sports pitch, actually able to actually leverage those rights of themselves. And then we have a lot of unexploited rights. We also have the growth of the pay TV channels and the mobile operators far outstripping the free-to-air channels. So when you've got a free-to-air channel who's trying to get sports and promote local sports in Ghana, and he has a $100,000 budget, but you have a mobile operator next door to him who can spend $10 million, you've got an unequal playing field. And so TV hasn't been able to grow at the same rate as the mobile operators have, which is a different culture for consuming sport, because it's really only 3 or 4 or 5 minute clips. And I think this type of convoy here is well overdue. I just want to say thank you to Themba and Sean and the guests for being here. But I just wanted to balance to say that there is growth. It's not always visible, and sometimes the way that we see growth here is displayed differently on the market, and the learning curve is different because as soon as you go over the border, the culture changes. And so when you want to sell the same sports rights in Rwanda and you want to do the same deal in Tanzania, it's different. We talked about sponsorship. It's okay to do Guinness deals in Nigeria, but not necessarily in the Central African Republic, in parts of the Congo, because there is a feeling towards alcohol. So the same alcoholic brands can't push the sports in the same way. And so I think local knowledge is really important. I've been to 37 African countries, done business in maybe 22 of them. I think you have to be on the ground. I think you have to believe in it and believe that it is going to get better.
Thank you very much. Alright, Sharif, straight to it, yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much. Definitely, mine is definitely a question. Well, just to introduce myself, my name is Sharif Tajdin. I'm from Cloud Sports, and we're developing a digital broadcast platform, but on the reverse of what's currently the trend, which is getting Premier League and La Liga deals to Africa, we're trying to get African sports to the global audience. So that's what we're building. And that leads me to my question, and I have one question for each member of the panel. So for Themba, your introduction, you talked about where you worked before and all the broadcast deals you've taken to Africa. And I wanted to say that, don't you think that the broadcast of foreign leagues is actually part of what's affecting the development of sports in Africa? For example, the Premier League don't broadcast 3 o'clock kickoffs here, so that the locals can go to their local clubs and watch the games. Whereas, in Nigeria, you tune on Super Sports 1 to 9, and all the games simultaneously are being broadcasted. So don't you think that's one of the problems that we're facing? And in addition to that, the likes of Premier Cool, which is a soap company, and Chivita, which is a drinks company, they have big sponsorship deals with Man City and Man United. And, they're pumping a lot of money into these clubs, but, they're neglecting the local sports that is happening right in front of them. And it's such a shame because Chivita, for example, even last year, on their bus, they still had Wayne Rooney, they still had Zlatan on My U shirts last year, and these guys don't even play for the club anymore. So don't you think that's an area to look at? For Hiro, with the key deal with Nike with Nigeria was a really great deal. But I think someone mentioned earlier that Nigeria was a dumping site. Don't you think Nike have more advantage, in that deal in terms of what they've gotten out of it compared to the NFL, so to speak? I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that. And for Drew, you talked about a lot of African footballers are not, putting their brand out there. Can you give us an example of one African athlete who is doing it right, so that we can have a perspective? Those are my questions. Thank you.
You want me to go first or you go first?
Man is short. You have nothing, yeah? And someone gives you, you have to receive. Nigeria had no sponsor in the key deal after the World Cup in Brazil. So yes, maybe it was not as balanced as it should be at the level of Nigeria. But right now, they did a super deal. I don't know the numbers, but I know that they have a great deal. So now it's on the opposite side. So I think it's a win-win situation on the long term. That's the problem in Nigeria. They think short, you have to think long.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's always a contradiction between international content, sports content, and local sports content. Obviously, international sports content, it's better quality. It comes from well established brands, English Premier League and La Liga, which obviously would be eye-catching to the consumers on the ground, and they will go and watch that. Now, is that fair? I don't know. It's up to you, right?
Listen, disagree.
No,
and I have to make a little bracket here in Nigeria.
Let me say this. It is up to the local leagues, local rights holders, to make their content compelling. The English Premier League is coming there to compete. It's not coming there for charity, right? They're competing for the same eyeballs that the Nigerian leagues and federations want to catch, right? So in Ndlwana, they had a law, right, where it was actually a ban to show the English Premier League at a certain time, so that you could create space for the local league. Is that good? I don't know. I mean, these are opinions, these are perspectives. But I think for me, the whole ecosystem in terms of the media rights value chain, from production until distribution, there has to be capacity injection, right? Education, right? So over the past 2 years, I've been going around Africa, talking to federations, right? And you'll be surprised at the value that federations from across, from football to rugby to athletics, the value they put on their own assets, right? And they don't take that responsibility to actually say, this is my product, this is my asset, I own it, and I need to then develop it. I need to invest in it. I need to find partners who are going to develop it, right? What they do, they just sell everything to a broadcaster, local broadcasters. And you know what? Local broadcasters will just give them peanuts. And by the middle of that contract, they run out of money, right? Because there isn't that understanding yet, right? That we need to develop this brand, develop this product to make it sustainable, to make the whole organization sustainable, right? That is, then if that is an understanding, then that will be a catalyst for what? For developing local sports content. And if we then develop local sports content, we find partners for developing the whole ecosystem, right? Of developing your media, right? Then you'll be in a position to challenge. Because in my opinion, English Premier League would have a hard time, right? If the local sports content, the local sports leagues are run and managed properly, right? They will have a large time. They will have a huge challenge. But right now, it's very easy for them because the locals are not doing anything. In terms of sponsorship, I mean, I think it's the same, right? If you're a brand, I mean, sponsorship is an investment. It's not just giving money. It's not charity. It's an investment because you're looking at the benefits that you're gonna get from that investment, right? You are not going to invest in a property that is valueless. You invest in value to what? To achieve value, right? So local sports leagues, local sports properties, some of them, there isn't much value there, especially on the broadcast part because the quality is so bad, first of all. The quality is so bad. Yeah.
I don't know if the quality is bad. You feed clubs all over the world with Nigerian footballers. So how many games of the Nigerian Premier League do you broadcast in Nigeria weekly? How many are broadcast weekly? 2 if you're lucky. You know, so that's the main problem. You want to sponsor? No.
Who's Who's fault is it?
The right holders. They don't create the content. They have the content there in their own eyes. You have the Nigerian League. You start broadcasting these matches. If you broadcast, I told them many times, like if you broadcast 5 games, 6 games, forget about the Premier League, the own Nigerians, you know, your own little boys, they will start watching. They don't have opportunity to watch Nigerian football because you switch on the TV and you have the Premier League. Are you aiming to make more Man United fans born in Nigeria than Nigerians to be supporters of, I don't remember the names of all the clubs because I don't have the time to work fast. This is very simple, and there is there is many case studies now from South America, and I can tell you again Colombia because that's where I am from and that's where I have more knowledge. 10 years ago, you can see TV rights. I think clubs they got maybe $1 million a year, yeah, for the TV rights. 10 years only, yeah. But we started somewhere. Today, of course, the broadcasters. Last year, 5 years, they were paying, I think, $2 million. Now, how much do they have to pay per club? 20 million and pay per subscriber a bonification. Then when you have the TV, when you have your Nigerian football on the TV, then you go for your sponsor. Then the sponsor has an interest. But if you don't have your football anywhere, you know, you have to go to the state. You don't even have as he wanted to have, you know, at the time. Because I don't do LED, but I say, okay, let's try to see. Email me or call me. You never call. Next year there is no friendly games. We can develop that business, and I'll be happy to go to Nigeria and do something. But in Nigeria, you have your product there. You don't have to do anything. Once you bring it to TV, then you start fine-tuning. You cannot say, it's shit football, so we don't do it. We broadcast Premier League and La Liga. No, because you feed all the clubs in Holland, in England, in the Premier League and in Italy with
Super
African players. So how come you're gonna say that it's no good?
For the sake of time, wait, guys,
Think about how English football was before BT put their $2.2 billion into it. It completely changed. When in Ghana, when Barclays took out their $15 million a year that they were spending on the free-to-air package in Ghana, and they put it into the Super Eagles, then everything changed in Ghana for that period of time. Now Starsat have come in investing in the Super Eagles, in the Black Stars. In the Black Stars in Ghana. So I think that the money has to come first with the rights holders, and they have to invest in football, however it may seem or it may look, and then the audience follows.
So what did that?
Guys,
the main investment in
this is good.
What happened?
This is really good.
You have to give up.
But you have to listen. This is really good, guys. For the sake of time, Don't forget, we're networking upstairs, so you can gist all you want. But for the sake of time,
Let me answer his question.
oh yeah, Drew,
That's my friend there.
Drew, you've got.
Be unfair. He asked 3 questions.
You've got,
two.
you've got 20 seconds starting from now.
But he wants an example. He wanted an example of someone that's done it right in Africa. I would say Samuel Eto'o. Samuel Eto'o is doing the right thing because basically he has a team. It's not about your football agent. You need to have a team. So I've worked closely with him. He's got a team of about 3 people.
10 seconds.
Every morning comes downstairs. They do the guy to do. Like Samuel Eto'o now, because brand your brand, yeah. You build a brand. You invest in your brand before sponsors will come. People come to me, give me sponsors. It doesn't come like that. You have to invest in your brand. And he have invested in his brand. How did he do that? My own quote is, community relations is the best public relations. What he did is that he took like young boys from Cameroon to Europe to play football, so people start liking him and everything. What happened? He didn't have the MTN deal. So why I believe everything is changing. From endorsement, you go to partnership. From partnership, you go to ownership. When you're ownership, you're on top of it. That is what I could refer to LeBron James. LeBron James, yeah, he had his own, he had sponsors. And after he said, guys, I'm not interested in the sponsorship. Let's do partnership. After partnerships, guys, no, I want to own my own, my own chain and whatever. So I think Africans can do well if they invest in their brand.
I've got time for 2 more, only 2 more. I have to be quick fire.
What is the main difference, yeah?
Yeah.
Main difference. Purely commercial, Before I always said, like, I've been doing Nigeria, bringing to London, Nigeria, trying to develop the Nigerian market in London, but we don't get the Nigerians to buy the tickets. You bring Colombia, we always have full house. So it's the passion of the fans to really go and support the team. But I said if I open 3 Wembley stadiums and I bring the Super Eagles to play under 17 of England for free, that will be packed for 3 days, no problem. So it's about, you want to watch good and support, pay for it, That's how it is. But it's not just the fans, it's the same, the TV rights. I was discussing at the beginning. If you go to sell the TV rights of Nigeria to Nigeria, Super Sports will always, sorry, but screw you with, give you whatever they want. That's not right, I wouldn't broadcast the games of Nigeria until they learn. But of course, for political reasons, we have to broadcast, so we let them pay whatever they want to pay and they take the rights. But Nigeria is not profitable.
Please, question?
Yes, my name is Joseph Hammond. I'm the Communications Director of the Commonwealth Africa Initiative. So if you're interested in coming to our conference next week, we're going to have a panel on sports in Africa as well. So please come. You're all welcome. My question, I started my career in journalism as a boxing writer. My question, we've talked a lot about team sports, mostly football, but regarding boxing in Africa, right now where this gentleman is from, Anthony Joshua, he's knocking everyone out. Where this gentleman is from, Zolani Tete, the bantamweight champion, he's knocking everybody out. I'm sure we got Ghana in the room, many champions or near champions from Ghana. We probably don't have Namibia in the room, numerically speaking, but there was a recent champion from Namibia. 2 of the most interesting heavyweight title fights of all time have been contested in Africa. Of course, the Rumble in the Jungle and the Lennox Lewis Hasim Rahman fight in South Africa. But how can we get more of this business? What is the way to develop boxing as a business in Africa? I'd love to hear if anyone in the panels have a perspective on that or some of the other sports beyond just football. Thank you.
One of you, the time?
I'll answer that. I was lucky enough last year to attend the African Boxing Union conference in Uganda. So I think the key issue there is the promoters. Promoters don't feel empowered enough, and there's a distance between the regulatory body and the promoters, and to some extent, as we just said, the knowledge and education and the capacity to make money. It's economics. So that is one, but at the same time, the media rights. It's a key thing. I was talking to a promoter who's doing a fight in Congo at the end of this month, and the key thing, even though the event management part is very, there's a lot of expertise in that, but on the media distribution front and the sponsorship front, they're still lacking. So it's mainly economical. the expertise to make money from this event.
Cool. One more question, because I'm feeling good. Guys, we're going to be networking at the end here, so your voice isn't silenced. But last question, gentleman right there.
My name is
please.
Shepard.
There's no gender balance in this.
International Women's Day tomorrow. You didn't let me finish. I said this is the last question from a male. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, my name is Shepard. I'm a sport consultant, sports analyst, and a football agent. You guys have mentioned one key thing about education, but another key role that has been vacant is administrators. There's lack of proper administrative analysis in Africa. The people that run the affairs of sports are basically politicians. So we're all in this room. There's power in innovation and the ideologies that you have. You need to push forward and share your stories and let people know what the deal is. I've done a lot of things with IRO, and we've met in about 6-7 different countries because I do a lot of things. I've done things on BBC, on different Sky Sports platforms and different African radio stations, and I speak to a lot of these footballers and I know them personally. So what we need to do is we need to understand the psychology, we need to understand the economy of sports management, because we haven't even scratched the surface, not even 1%. So we need to take the power. We need to stop thinking some investor is going to come in from some foreign land and come and splash millions. We need education and the understanding, and we need to understand ourselves and how African sports people think. For instance, I'll give an example. There's a Premiership club in this country that everybody believes they understand black players. And I've had meetings with them and they've actually said to me they don't understand how these players think. So you see, you have a lot of players having issues, like the guy is talking about, I know him, the one that played for Milan, Inter Milan, AC Milan, and he's got nothing now. The first 3 key problems that African sportsmen have, especially the men, is family, money, and women, especially family. You have a player that's earning maybe £30,000 a week. They want him to build a pool. They want him to build a mansion. The father wants to work with security guards. So there's so many things that we need to understand. But we need to understand more and push and go back to Africa and do things. Foreigners are not going to come in and do it. I'm afraid that's the solution.
Let me add to that, just a quick one. Yeah, I think obviously I came late, so I didn't see the part with education. I think education is the key. One of the biggest, the most powerful person in football in Europe, I can say that, is a Nigerian guy. It's Mike Menelo. He was a sporting director in Chelsea. He can hire and fire. Now he's in Monaco. What happened with this guy? The guy played in US 94. He played maybe like a game. He was a substitute. He wasn't even one of the main players. But from then, he invested in his brand. He was looking at lifestyle for football. So what did he do? He educated himself. He went to university. He studied sport management and everything. So after he's got that to himself, he had that confidence to approach anyone. So he went to Israel. When he went to Israel, somebody recommended him to the Russian guy. So obviously, he called him for a meeting. After speaking, he know that this guy know his stuff. So this is the guy that turned Chelsea around, signed over 50 players, made money after them, sent them on loan. Imagine, okay, one of the players he signed was for nothing. That was Ola, now he's in Torino. They want to buy that guy for 10 million in Torino now. And he didn't invest anything, they used Chelsea facility. Those things are from him. So what am I saying is that you don't have to be a star player. If you're a footballer, take that advantage, take that leverage, make relationship, educate yourself. So if the African players, if all of them educate themselves, they should be running the federations and everything, and not those politicians. Because the politicians, I've worked with Jairo as well. Jairo, he's just an innocent guy. He does a lot of job, but he doesn't get paid.
This is the part from the women's side. My name is Evelyn. I'm from Kenya, but I'm now living in Madrid. I'm a sports journalist, but I'm also the vice president of the Wild Sports Writers Association. I think what he mentioned about boxing, I think one thing that we really focus on in Africa is team sports. But we are also very good in individual sports like boxing and obviously Kenyans, the runners. But then we don't see them, apart from Haile Gabriel and a few other Kenyan sports stars. They disappear after their star years. It's because of one thing you mentioned in your presentation, education and athletes' welfare. If you meet a Kenyan athlete, they can't even sit on this panel and express themselves. Because naturally, Kenyans are very conservative, very shy, but then we don't need that. So they need to be educated, and also the athletes' welfare is very important because most of them don't even know how to invest their money. As you mentioned, they get their earnings when they're running, it's stock, and then they don't even know that they can put their money in stock, in wherever it is. So athletes' welfare, I believe, is very, very important for us as Africans. And the other thing you mentioned, government. Our governments play a very important role. For instance, Rumble in the Jungle was because Zaire funded that.
Mobutu, not
exactly. Yes, it was Zaire. Then it was Zaire. It was the Zaire government who funded Rumble in the Jungle. If we don't get our governments involved, even in these forums, we will never move because we know that the bureaucracy level in Africa is what stops us. Because the sports ministers are political appointees. They're not appointed, they're not because you should be sports ministers in your countries, but you never get together because you're not in the political party. So we need to push for government policies, and then they can realize the way South Africa is doing. When South Africa decided to bid for the World Cup, it was a government decision. When Senegal is going to host an Youth Olympics, the first in Africa, it's a government decision. So for us to even advance this conversation forward, we have to push our governments. You have very rich counties in Nigeria, for instance, but we don't see them involved. So I think we need to get the policies right, get the governments in our discussion. Maybe get one of the governors in your next event, just to get them to know the brains behind, because all these are just, I call them, this is like dead capital. All these brains just packed in a room, and you're needed back home. You can do a lot. So I think this is what we need to think about as well.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Guys, I think we're going to bring a close to proceedings, well, in here anyway. We'll continue things upstairs, but firstly, I just want to say a huge, massive thank you to Sean, of all people, for facilitating this.